Hello, my name is Dr. Amjad Mirza. I am a YouTuber, a broadcaster, and I appear on Indian TV channels quite frequently. I also write articles for the Indian print media. As we all know, now that Hamas has carried out a terrorist attack in the early hours of Sunday morning, invading many border countries at the Gaza Strip, it has been clear that this war that has been started by the Hamas group, the terrorist Hamas group, has got some higher agenda, some evil agenda. And I want to discuss this and look into this with you. Now, first of all, as we all know, that Hamas, Hezbollah, and the rebels in Yemen who are fighting against Saudi Arabia are all proxies and funded by Iran, to say the least. We also know that as Israel continues to spread its diplomatic sphere of influence among Arab countries and nations in the Middle East, not everyone seems to be happy about that, especially Turkey. We will come to that in a minute. But at the moment, according to my findings, there have been up to 600 casualties in Israel, and the atrocities that the Hamas is committing on the land of Israel have never been heard of. They even surpass the violence and barbarity of the Romans or the Middle Ages even. They have kidnapped women and children. They have shot people in their houses. They are doing house-to-house search, and any Jew or Israeli they find, they drag them out and shoot them on the street. They have also kidnapped Israeli Jew women and gang raped them. We don't have the exact figure, but we are being told that up to 150 Israelis have been taken hostage and moved deep into Gaza. Obviously, the purpose could be that they demand the release of Hamas prisoners, if there are any, in Israeli jails, or they use them as human shields against the attacks that Israel is now conducting on terrorist hotspots inside Gaza. First of all, I would like to share with you the world opinion. When I say world opinion, I'm talking about nation states and their head of states. How have they responded towards this attack? The most shameful response so far has been that of China, which has called for restraint on all sides. My question is, who exactly has committed a war crime here? Israel did not walk into Gaza. Israel did not walk into the houses of the Palestinians living in the Gaza Strip. It is the opposite. The Hamas terrorists have entered a sovereign territory with violence, and they have glided. They have used trucks, motorcycles, as well as small boats to enter these cities of Israel. So it is a well-planned attack, well-coordinated, well-planned. But at the same time, who is the aggressor here, and who has to show restraint? If there is war, someone attacks your country, you fight them back. To call for restraint at a stage when Hamas has not totally been cleared off from the streets of Israel is a bit, lacks a bit of courage to call a spade a spade. Now let us see what exactly have they said. And I've got it here. They have said that the recurrence of conflict shows once again that the protracted standstill of the peace process cannot go on. The fundamental way out of the conflict lies in implementing the two-state solution and establishing an independent state of Palestine. the international community needs to act with greater urgency. So now they are calling for restraint, but at the same time, they are arm twisting Israel into accepting the two-state solution without any seminar going on, without any peace talks going on that are addressing this issue in particular. So we know China, where China stands. Now, my own analysis tells me that this attack has been coordinated, planned, and executed with the consent and support and facilitation of not only Iran but China as well. Don't fool yourself into believing that China is the harbinger of peace in the world. No, China is a selfish, economic, expansionist country that has used the backwardness of Asia, Africa, South America, and the Middle East in order to trap them into this illusion that there is some kind of Belt and Road Initiative that if they join it, they are going to prosper and come out of poverty. We all know that poverty and political instability in Africa, in Asia, in South America, and in the Middle East is not because they lack resources to develop themselves, but because of corruption, nepotism, and the continuous interference by certain multinational corporations which benefit from this instability and keep plundering these continents and these regions around the world. Coming back to China, I must also say this to you. Keep in mind that at the G20, there was the biggest success of the G20 was not that it happened in Delhi or it happened in Kashmir. Concrete thing that came out of the G20 was the India Middle East Economic Corridor Plan, which is from Mumbai and Gujarat, their ports, right up to Saudi Arabia, and then through Saudi Arabia into Jordan, and then Israel, and to the port of Haifa, which means that another economic corridor that is not dependent on Chinese model or any other economic corridor model was in the offing. And on the 22nd of September this year, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu categorically stated about this economic corridor, and he explained how this is not only going to help Israel prosper, but it is going to bring prosperity and peace to the whole region. So this India Middle East Economic Corridor is a direct threat to China's ambitions, hegemonic ambitions of economic expansion, because Netanyahu and Narendra Modi principally agreed on this, that wherever this India Middle East Economic Corridor will be built, roads, railways, whatever, it will be made sure that the local economy benefits from that, which means that unless a particular skilled labor is not available in that particular country, then they have to hire from outside. Otherwise, all indigenous skilled labor will be used. So it will generate employment. It will also be a peaceful path for trade and diplomacy. It will not be something like a debt trap, because China goes to Africa, says, oh, we want to develop your infrastructure. And they take the bait. And then China gives them loan. And the interest rate starts rising. And they can't pay. African country cannot pay. So they say, okay, you cannot pay. we will take this mine, we will take this port, we will take this whatever natural resources they can get their hands on. And that is how this Chinese expansionism, economic expansionism, imperialist expansionism is taking place and has been taking place for the past 15 years. Let us see which countries have supported Israel in this scenario. It's still early days, but let's see what is going on. Well, Egypt is playing a really hypocrite role here. Egypt had signed a peace deal with Israel back in the 1979 at Camp David and established diplomatic and trade relations. But today, Egypt, on a Twitter message, can you believe it? The government using Twitter to make a comment on such a huge magnitude world event. And it says, and I'll read it to you again. It says that the Egyptian Foreign Ministry warned of repercussions of this escalation and called for the international community to ask Israel. This is don't get shocked. Asked Israel to stop its attacks against the Palestinian people. Now here there are two questions. A friend in need is a friend indeed. That means that when Anwar Sadat signed this peace deal between Egypt and Israel brokered by Jimmy Carter in 1979, it was not actually all about peace in the Middle East. It was to benefit from the growing manufacturing sector of Israel, to benefit from importing their stuff and to export their products into Israel to earn money from Israel. Right? And then they say Palestinian people. Israel to stop its attacks against the Palestinian people. Let me make this thing absolutely clear. Hamas is not Palestinian people's representative. Hamas is a terrorist organization. It's the proxy of Iran, just like the Hezbollah. They are religious, fundamentalist, Islamic, jihadist, terrorist organizations. If we need to find a solution, permanent solution to this Palestinian issue, we have to identify friends, moderates, neutrals, and enemies. In Gaza, Hamas is holding a whole community of Palestinians hostage. You try and go against the Hamas in a democratic election or in a democratic way, or make a speech against Hamas and ask for more rights for women or whatever, then you will be beheaded and your skin will be, peeled off. That is what Hamas is. It's an undemocratic, fascist organization that fights for money. So Egypt has said this, and that really surprises me. And after so many years, after 1979, in 2023, I now see the real purpose of this peace deal between Egypt and Israel. As I said, a friend in need is a friend indeed. Egypt should have moved troops to help crush this Hamas terrorist attack on Israel. But they have decided to abstain from that. Well, the Jordan Foreign Ministry has issued tried to issue a balanced statement. They have asked for restraint on all sides, and they've said that international partners should, play their part in preventing this from this conflict from escalating and bringing the region into a cycle of violence. So that is a bit diplomatic. Iraqi Prime Minister has said the operations carried out by the Palestinian people, again they are mixing Palestinian people with the Hamas. Hamas is a terrorist organization. The operations carried out by the Palestinian people today are a result of systematic oppression they have been subjected to for many years at the hand of the Zionist Occupation Authority, which has never adhered to the international and United Nations resolutions. Well, talk about United Nations resolutions. I originally belong to the Pakistani occupied Jammu Kashmir. There have been so many resolutions regarding our land, that we are Kashmiris who belong to India, but Pakistan does not withdraw its forces, although the first resolution that was passed in 1948 demands that Pakistan withdraw its troops from Pakistani occupied territory. But it doesn't happen. So I don't buy this. What it is saying is more important. Palestinian people he uses. Natural result. He is justifying the massacre of civilians in Israel. I want to say this. It doesn't matter whether a person who's being subjected to torture and butchery and massacre is a Jew or a Muslim or a Hindu or a Sikh or a Christian. A human being, that is what matters. They are human beings, they are people, Mr. Foreign Minister of the Iraqi government. Can't you see that? Are you endorsing this violence by saying that it is a natural result of something? So this is what he is saying. Qatar has said, Israel alone bears the responsibility of the current escalation due to its violations of rights of the Palestinian people. Do I have to explain myself again? No, you already get the gist. Now you can self-analyze these things. Again, he uses the word Palestinian people. Responsibility is on Israel. How can it be the responsibility of this massacre be on Israel? Did Israel invite Hamas, come and please kill our people? We are a bit overpopulated? No. Let's see what the Lebanese is. Lebanese Hezbollah has congratulated. Both are proxies, both are terrorist organizations, both rule over their people through fear. And what they are saying, congratulated Hamas on what? And I quote, large-scale heroic operation. That is what they've called this, into Israel. They are saying that we are closely following the important developments on the Palestinian scene with great interest. That's what they have said. Let us talk a bit about the growing influence of Israeli diplomacy, the growing political influence of the people of Israel and the state of Israel in the Middle East, right? After 1979, when the peace was brokered between Egypt and Israel at Camp David through the good offices of Jimmy Carter, it took a while before any other Arab country would shake hands with Israel. It wasn't until 1993 that Jordan and Israel signed a peace accord, which was called Jordan-Israel Peace Treaty. And then it took many years of hard work before another peace treaty could be signed with UAE, United Arab Emirates, in 2020, and Bahrain and Morocco. The signing of peace treaty with UAE sent cold shivers down the spine of Iran, because UAE is both an Arab country but in the Persian Gulf. And how important that would be, you can imagine. China moved in the pursuit of developing better diplomatic relations with the Middle Eastern countries so that they can be translated into economic benefit for the Chinese. But it didn't work, because there was an Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, who was also working on how to capture the Middle East political scene and use it for mutual economic benefit. China's economic benefit, China does not work for mutual economic benefit, China works for China's economic benefit. There's a massive difference in this. And now there was going to be peace and diplomatic relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel. A sign of which we have seen during the G20 meeting, when Saudi Arabia agreed for the India-Middle East Economic Corridor to run through Saudi Arabia and Jordan right up to Israel. And then comes the sabotage. That's why I say it's not only Iran, it's Turkey, it's China, it's all those regional players who did not agree or do not agree that there should be a India Middle East economic corridor that benefits Israel. And who came out the next day when at G20 this was announced? Erdogan, the Turkish president. He came out and he said this is not acceptable. Interestingly, Russia is also proposing an economic corridor. Russian government proposed that Russia, Iran, Azerbaijan work on a joint project that would use the Caspian Sea as a trading post for markets in Europe and beyond. This economic corridor would include Russia, Iran, Azerbaijan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, which are all oil and gas rich countries. We're getting somewhere, aren't we? Now, in this scenario, such a massive big attack has been launched after 1973 on Israel. On the 22nd of September this year, Netanyahu delivered a speech at the United Nations General Assembly. I want to quote just one sentence from his speech, and you will see why I want to quote this. It says, I believe that we are at the cusp of an even more dramatic breakthrough. Breakthrough, but he uses an adjective, dramatic breakthrough, and historic peace with Saudi Arabia. Well, Middle East is paying the price now. You pay the price to have peace with your blood. Therefore, there can be no turning back until this menace of proxy, Islamic jihadist proxies are wiped out, not only from Gaza, not only from Afghanistan, not only from Pakistan, but from every single country in this planet that wants to prosper. If you believe in democracy, if you believe that every single human being has a right to breathe, to speak, to express their views in a non-violent way, in a civilized way, and a country has the right to defend itself if it is attacked by a foreign country, and if you believe that the only way out of the 2008 economic crisis is through economic connectivity, economic cooperation and trade, then this sabotage by Iran and China has to be countered. Therefore, I call upon the international community, doctors, paramedics, engineers, journalists, writers, poets, human rights activists, and teachers. I make an appeal to the world community that this is the time when the Jews who were persecuted during the Second World War and are now being demonized need your help most. This is the time when we should head for Israel, to stand by our Jew brothers and sisters, to stand with the government of Israel. So this is what is happening. This is what is happening. And so what's the solution? Still, as I speak, Hamas terrorists are holding people hostages. They haven't yet been totally flushed out of Israeli cities. Israel has started to retaliate. Before retaliation, now nobody's talking about this. Nobody's mentioning this. Before retaliating, before sending its jet aircraft to bombard Gaza and the safe havens of these terrorists, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, he announced and It was repeated again and again through loudspeakers, through media, through radio, that civilians leave Gaza because we are coming in. Why did he say that? Because Israel does not want to kill or injure or wound any civilian. And this is exactly according to the Geneva Convention. When you are attacking a city, you warn the people. You say, can you please leave? So that there are minimum casualties of civilians. Because armies fight armies. Armies don't fight civilians. Only terrorists fight civilians.